What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another book haul video on the King Crusoe YouTube channel. This month is a little bit of a specialized month. Most everything on this list falls under the same or similar subset of books, and then there's a couple random items beside that, but basically everything falls into one subset that are stacked right here in front of me. There's not really that much to say for this video, although I will add as a quick note before we actually get into the haul of the video that there is one more item actually that I did get in March that should be included in this video, but that wasn't going to be able to get here for another couple days. I am recording this on March 26th. There's several more days left in the month, but for all of the reasons that I outlined in this April State of Affairs video that came out on April 1st, I just don't have time next week to be able to record, let alone edit this video, as well as another one that I'm going to be recording and editing today, so I'm just doing what I can right now. But that last item I'll just have to show off in the next book haul video, which will probably be coming in June, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, which, of course, with how this month has gone, I might not be remembering correctly. But without anything else that needs to be said, let's just jump right into the things that I got in March. As I have mentioned multiple times on the Discord server for Mike's book reviews, I am part of a read-along where we read a new classic book basically every month, with some of the longer books taking a couple months. But for April, the classic read that we are going to be doing in that Discord is For Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm learning Russian, so I'm probably pronouncing it better than some would, but I'm probably still not pronouncing it right. Regardless, let's just say I love this art. This art is really cool. So, at the time of this video's release, I am actually currently reading this book as a result of this being April's classic book. I know next to nothing about this book. I have heard a lot of mixed things about it, though, most notably that the book feels a lot like a fever dream, and that it's pretty hard and confusing to understand. But as of the recording of this video, I have no real expectations going into the book. I'm just kind of going along for the ride, and when it comes to stuff like this, I feel like that's basically the best way to go in. I'm gonna say I'm still not the hugest fan of these kind of frilled type edges on books, but having read War and Peace for a little while now, I'm warming up to it a little bit more. Like I said, still not a huge fan, but I really like the way that it worked in this book because the edges of the cover come out so much further. It makes it a lot less obnoxious, in my opinion. And just like I said earlier, you would only take a couple items before you would be able to recognize and see that there's kind of a trend that goes on this book haul. The next item is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This is, of course, one of the most well-known classics. This is a book that my mom has read and loved. She has read, I believe, everything that Jane Austen wrote and really enjoyed it all. There was a summer a few years ago where she just went through everything, all basically in a binge. I don't know specifically what she had to say about this book, but she really likes it. In fact, whenever Mike's Book Reviews Discord, whenever we get around to this for the monthly classic read-along, if we ever get to it, but with its popularity, I'm sure we will. My mom was actually thinking that she might join along as just kind of a second-hand read just because she enjoyed it so much. I will add, as you can tell, this is another one of those Penguins Deluxe Edition covers, just like the Master and Margarita one is. I'm really kind of addicted to collecting these, and I blame King James on the Discord for referring me to these versions of the books. It's probably going to be a problem after not too long. You can see that bottom shelf and the bookshelf right there is pretty empty, but that's because all of the books that were on it just, a few minutes ago before I started recording this video are on the desk in front of me. If that's not a precursor for the rest of the items that come here, I don't know what is. All of the classics, because these two shelves are basically classics shelves for my book collection. Yeah, I got a lot of classics this month. And with that being said, let's just move right on into the next item that I got, which is not a Penguins Deluxe version, but just a Penguin Classics of The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Not a book I know anything about, just frequently heard great things, especially when it comes to the themes and the things that it's about. I guess it's got a lot to do with like pride and self-image and stuff like that, but I don't know anything beyond that. Similar to Pride and Prejudice, I look really forward to reading this one soon-ish because it's one of the several books that we have pretty much on deck for the next several months in that Classics Read Along channel that are most likely to be voted at some point soon. And I've heard that a lot of the psychological type of themes and stuff like that that goes on in this book are ripe for conversation, so I'm excited to kind of be able to talk about this whenever it happens. It looks a lot shorter than it is. Comparatively, it's like, well, that's a short book, but the thing is, while it is only 200 pages or so for the actual main text, there is quite a few words on each page, so it's not long, but it's not necessarily short. I will give it credit where credit is due, though. It's a lot shorter than most classics are. And then item number 4 on this list is The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Again, I'm learning Russian, but that does not make me fully capable of pronouncing Russian names very well, because I'm definitely not. This is a lot longer, a lot thicker, a lot bigger than I was anticipating that it was going to be, but at this point, so many of the classics that I own are such big, chonky books that it didn't really surprise me when it came. I just kind of looked at it and was like, I didn't realize this was long like some of these others were. This was a relatively recent edition. I bought it in late February, but then it took several weeks before it even shipped, let alone the transit that it took to get here. Technically wasn't ever going to be on last month's book haul in the first place, but it could have been if it, shipped after just a couple days when I bought it. I'm not too miffed about it. Anyway, it fits in this list alongside all of the other classics. So, alongside Crime and Punishment, which is by the same author, I believe, this is one of the most popular Russian books. I guess Master and Margarita also kind of falls into that category of literature, but I'm very excited to read this at some point in time because, I'm not usually one for reading the backs of books, but if you were to read the back of this one and tell me that you weren't interested, I would think you're either crazy or you're my mom. So, it seems like a very interesting book, just the concept and the things that it's going to deal with. So, I hope to get to this sometime, whenever there's time, or if it comes up in that Classics read-along. And then next up is a couple items that I've been eyeballing in one way or another for a very long time. In fact, I have free versions of these books downloaded on my phone from Project Gutenberg because, they're so old, they obviously fall into the public domain. And those are the Iliad and the Odyssey. These are not your traditional translations of these stories. In fact, I don't know if many people have ever heard of the Peter Green translation. It's because it's relatively new. I think only like 2015 or 2016. Since then has this version of the translation existed. But long story short, as soon as I saw the way that these books looked on different images online from when I was looking for physical versions of the books to get to, I was like, I've got to get these because they look so nice. And they really are nice. Just the covers, the art is very beautiful in a simplistic sense, but it's not even just that that's nice. It's the quality of the books themselves. The paper is really nice. It's not like the nicest paper that I've ever felt or handled in a book, but it's very much up there. It's higher quality than the vast majority of anything that I own. I'm just going to say in that Classics Read Along channel, Mike's Book Reviews Discord, again, going to mention that forever and ever on this channel because I just love being there. This was the book that I was hoping was going to be picked for the read along in April. Instead, it was Master and Margarita. Still going to read Master and Margarita. I would fit this into the TBR if there was any possible way to do so, but work schedule means that I cannot. However, given how many people mentioned that they wanted to get to this and the Odyssey at some point in time in their lives, I highly doubt that this won't be voted for the monthly read-along at some point in time. I would be surprised if it didn't happen at some point in time this year, but we will see. Regardless, I'm going to read these at some point in time. as you would know if you watched my reading wrap-up and TBR video that I believe just came out this past Monday. If not, it was the Monday before that. I don't know the calendar off the top of my head based on when I'm recording this, but I've been going into reading a lot of Rick Riordan recently, and I really enjoy his stuff. And as with most people my age and in my generation, he's the reason that I love a lot of ancient history and mythology and stuff like that. And the Iliad and the Odyssey are kind of the quintessential items that fall into that category of reading, especially when it comes to ancient Greek stuff. And ancient Greek is what I'm most interested in because, of course, it is. But even outside of those books, even the box that they came in is really nice. Like, that's super thick and hardcore material, so I'm really a fan of that too. And now we come to the last item on this list, and unfortunately, no, this is not a classic. This was something that I had pre-ordered several months ago, and if you know, you know, Kingdoms of Death by Christopher Rocchio. This is book 4 in his Sun Eater epic sci-fi fantasy series. I'm really a fan of this cover. This cover is super cool. I'm usually not a fan of greens and stuff like that, but the way that they were utilized in this cover is unbelievably pretty. I just love it a lot. Top 3 covers of this year easily, alongside a cover like the Hunger of the Gods, I believe, by John Gwynne. The second book in the Bloodsworn saga, that cover is really dope as well. Very incredible covers. I cannot wait to dive into this series sometime later this year, and given my Sun Eater collection, the collection of books that I have, this seems rather obvious. And with that being said, the Sun Eater collection that I have, let me also add that I got a second copy of the same book, Kingdoms of Death by Christopher Rocchio. This is the UK edition, but this one was signed and numbered. Signed by Mr. Rocchio, number 103, and I got this because it was going to match my copies that I already have of these books. Now let me show you, because I didn't get to show these off in any other book hauls or anything like that, and I just want to show off my Rocchio books because Rocchio covers are awesome. There's Demon in White, the American cover, that's book 3 of the series, and then there's books 1 and 2 here with Empire of Silence and Howling Dark. Amazing art. Like, I'm super attracted to these books just because of the artwork. This copy of Empire of Silence that I have is, I'm not the happiest with it because there's a bunch of sticky stuff here from where stickers from a library had it, because that's how I got this, was used, and apparently it had come from a library, which I come from a place where the libraries always put like laminate coating or something like that over the covers of their books so that sticky stuff from the stickers that they put on the books don't actually affect the cover itself. But it's whatever, I guess. I'm just happy to have a hardcover of this book because they're not easy to get at this point in time, and if you can get them, they're usually not for cheap. But since I have that UK edition of Kingdoms of Death, I am obligated to show off my UK edition of all the other books as well. I bought a set of these from the same place, Derrida Books, signed number 103. All of these UK editions of these books that I have are number 103. That's why I specified for the Kings of the Death one so that they all match. This version of Empire of Silence has blue pages, so it's the second book that I own with blue pages, the other one being Dune. And then there's Howling Dark. I love this artwork as well. They're amazing in a completely different way than the American art is, but they're very pretty. I just love the pink aesthetic of this as well. Just the pink and then the orange and blue and green and everything. It's just all really super nice. And of course, you can't forget The Lesser Devil and Other Stories, which is the collection of The Lesser Devil novella and Tales of the Sun Eater Volume 1, the short story collection. So I cannot wait for later this year for when Queen of Mid-Ashes and Other Stories comes out, an edition similar to this, that's of the second novella and Tales of the Sun Eater Volume 2. I'm going to pick that up from Derrida Books as well. again, signed numbered number 103, because that's what I'm going to want to get. And of course, later this year in December, the 5th book of the series is going to come out as well, and you better believe that I'm already have that pre-ordered for the American edition, and I'm going to be getting the UK edition when that comes out. So yeah, that might be a little bit of an oddball to show off in this haul, given all the classics that I just showed off a minute ago, but that's fine. That's basically the Great Classics book haul of March 2022 for me, plus a lot of Rockio. So seasonalproductions.com is currently down for maintenance at the time that this video releases. More on that again in the State of Affairs video for the month I released, I believe, last week. But go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe and ring the bell to follow along with all the videos that come out on the channel for this month, since nothing will be going up on seasonalproductions.com for the duration of this time in, the writing department and stuff like that. If you want more on that, again, check out the State of Affairs video, but that'll do it for this video. Thank you guys for sticking around. I really appreciate the support and anybody who watched through all the way to the end. I hope some more of you guys are excited about all the classics and all the Rockio that I have, because I'm a big fan of all of this stuff. I'm just addicted to book collecting at this point. It's a surprise that I'm able to keep my hauls as small as I'm able to keep them. But that's just kind of the way things go sometimes. Again, this is the end of this video. I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll be back again, I think maybe on Monday, but if not, it might be a couple weeks from then. I don't remember what comes out on what days, so just stick around for whatever comes out next, because I'll be back again before you know it.